All right, guys, let's do a shave. It is really late. I may not even go to sleep tonight because you know how if you've got to get up in 3 hours, sometimes you don't wake up if you go to sleep. Speaking of three, that's how many days growth I have on my face. I heard from a few of you guys in the comments about the video I just posted earlier today about the new stuff. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to do the Carnivale soap. I'm curious about this one as well. Since it's so late and I didn't have enough time to research it, I'm just going to do a blind shave with it. I got the Fatip Lo Storto Slant razor. And so that one was a big one that you guys commented on that you were interested in seeing it. I have a brand new Gillette Silver Blue. The other one I was using for testing purposes got to about 10 or 11 uses, and so it's time to replace it. And oh, this is from Storybook, the soap. It's one of their last ones they did. And then I just finished soaking this brush for maybe 5 hours. So if it's not friendly to my face now, it's just not gonna be, right? So that's another reason I'm bringing this Declaration Grooming B9A 24 millimeter with a TDR handle. That darn Rob, who has now changed his name to Chisel and Hound. All right, while my hands are dry-ish, let's get this blade out of there. I've seen some people just kind of rip these out and not really care about the edges of the blade. And this is a bit of a pain because it's got these 4 round spots that have kind of waxy substance there. And that's going to get on your razors sometimes, but I use a blade so much that it usually wears out. So let us unbox this. And it tells me up here that it's the chrome version, that it's not the nickel. And that was my guess because of how bright and shiny it is. And most of the Fatip razors that you order are going to be, they're going to have this crushed area right here because they don't hold up in shipping. I mean, paper is just, that's not reinforced. It's not strong enough to hold the razor in place. And so, and this guy feels heavier than some of the others. Interesting. All right, well, this is the Slant from Fatip, and it is a closed comb. It's not the open comb Slant. It has a different handle. They gave it the kind of spiral effect there. It is hollow like the Grande handle that it resembles. And we will go ahead and I'm curious to see the alignment. Sometimes a Fatip razor will be difficult to align the blade. Indeed, this one's not really the blade's not. Well, actually, if the blade takes a second to go on it, then it might mean that it doesn't have any play, and it might be just right. Let's hope that's the case. It's like if it goes on one post, then it won't go down on the other. So let me kind of split up the time here. There we go. So I got a feeling that's just a skill that once you do it a few times, you'll be fine there. Blade might not have any free play, not have the ability to kind of move around. Let's just take a look at it here. Looks like it's pretty well lined up. Can I move it at all? No, doesn't look like it. So there we go. All right, so this is the kind of slant that puts torsion on the blade, and that makes it hold the blade really, really firmly. Carnivale, it's got some dried fruit in there in the scent, and I definitely pick up on that kind of sweetness, kind of fruity sweetness. We'll see what else. And there were some spices in there that I initially picked up as well. Really nice. Storybook had to close their doors because he wanted to focus on more important things in his life. It's kind of a side project, and he was going to grad school or something important like that. And he just needed to make sure he did that right, I believe. Okay, I'm going to get my face wet. Since it's been so long, I'm going to go ahead and wash my face right quick. If it wouldn't have been so late, I might have picked up a nicer soap, but I had a bar of Irish Spring handy. And so we are working with hopefully a face that doesn't have nearly as many of my natural oils on it. All right, so it looks like this maybe was lathered once, maybe twice. Let's see what we get. Shake a lot of the water out of the brush. You can try different ways of leaving water in the brush, then you don't have to add as much back later. If you're really trying to fine tune your lathers though, it might be helpful to shake it out and then gradually add it back in. So you can play around with whatever suits you. Let's do a 30-second load. We're going to start with 07, so we'll go to 37. I can't remember what duration of load the Storybook works well with. So 30 seconds is my go-to whenever I don't know. Looks like my water in the brush was about right. A few more seconds now. It's lightly frothy in there, very moist and wet. So we probably have picked up enough soap to do the job. All right. I did read about the scent several times, but it's just been so long ago. And somebody posted recently as I was talking about this, about the dried fruit. And so that reminded me that that was a part of the component. That was a component of the scent. I know the base is going to be really good because Storybook's base is very nice. So I know the performance is going to be there. I'm hoping more things show up than just some of those sweet fruits. This may be the epitome of cloyingly sweet. It's almost too sweet. Kind of sweet in a way that makes you kind of intensely sweet. It's like you're smelling it's the smell equivalent of a Jolly Rancher. They've always been kind of too much for me. But at least we've got a powerful scent. At least there's that. We've got a wonderful early lather coming together. And I think I have decent water here. I don't think it's hard. 1 teaspoon in. Started watching a new show I found online called Ice Pilots. I've just seen the one episode, the first one, and it's really interesting. These guys up in Canada, up in near Yellowknife and areas like that, there's like only one airline running up there, Buffalo Airlines. I didn't even know this show existed. Another teaspoon. And they've taken these old airplanes, cargo planes that are 70 years old. Some of them don't even have any computer components in them at all. It's all manual. It's all electronic. No computers, no autopilot. And guys go up there to fly these. They get out of flight school. And they want to go up there and fly for this company. They only have a few of these planes, and not too many of them in the world at all. And then you make cargo runs. You might have to get out on the wing to shove off the ice, things like that. if you don't get the ice off the propeller, then when it slings off, it can actually dent the side like a bullet, dent the side of the fuselage of the aircraft as the centrifugal force slings it right off, you know? Pretty crazy. And these things are just built, they're aluminum, and they're apparently just built so well that they're able to be maintained by the team. How about that? Old engines still going, Pratt and Whitney, I think. Looking good in there in the bowl. 3 teaspoons now. 3.5 actually. So this brush is soaked for a very long time. I normally do not soak a Badger this long, but I just needed to be extreme and see if there's any way that this brush can be improved with its splay. Make it easier to splay, easier to keep in the splay, that kind of thing. And tepid water, of course, is what I used, because even if you started out with warm water, with such a long soak, it's going to become tepid anyway. Let's go ahead and use this. Look at the texture here. We don't have a lot of peaks and sharp ridges or anything like that. And yeah, 3.5 teaspoons of water is what we've loaded into the lather. And we'll see if this slant razor can make short work of such long stubble. There are a few other soaps that have this intensely sweet note to them. Soap Makers of Awesometown from Barrister and Mann. I think that Ruby's Green from Mickey Lee Soapworks from a while back. Passion from APR, and this guy. And it's a little too much for me, I think. I wish there were more spices and things like that. Let's just try it out. Maybe by the time maybe this is one that's strong enough where I don't really want to put my nose in the bowl. But maybe when I just work the soap on my face, it won't be quite as intense. Yeah, and the tips are really soft, but I haven't really improved too much on the splay with this guy. Keep using him a few more times though, just to give him a really, really good chance. Like I mentioned in my video about the mail call recently, I do have another Declaration Grooming B9A in the 24 millimeter, because I didn't know which one. I kind of made one deal and bought one while another deal was happening, you know, just to, besides if with such a batch that's gone now, what if one of the brushes would have worked and one of them wouldn't have, you know? If I'm able to find one that is the right, is maybe lofted a little higher than average, then I got a feeling that would be like me striking gold. The tips on this remind me a little bit of one of the Shave Mac knots that I have. You know, they're soft, but they're not a whole lot of give. They're not super soft, so just almost some scrub. So you know, enjoyable. Not gonna give you any problems, but kind of firm. And this lather definitely could use some more water. Look at the shape. Look at these contours here. They're not moving. They are. They're not dripping at all. Clumpy. I've got some lather gathered easily around my goatee here, the corners of my area, my shaving area. Look at see the textures. If I have more with the amount of water that I normally like in this lather, this texture would not exist. so I could add a little bit more, maybe even a whole teaspoon to kind of equal all this out. Maybe we'll do that. Why not? Add it in the bowl there. There's half a teaspoon. And then there's another half. So we're looking at 4.5 teaspoons total. All right, but we'll shave this and see what happens. Lo Storto from Fatip. Handle's a little slippery. All right, let's do a soap test. Let me get a little soap on my fingers. That's slippery. Now, when I'm grabbing this knurled bottom part here, no problem at all. But it's a little slippery right there. So be warned. Just rinse that soap off, keep it clear. And I'm not having any problems at all now that it's rinsed. Okay, this is my second, technically my third. My first slant was a Merkur that I used once and didn't like. The second one was a Maggard V3 slant that I was amazed by because of how smooth it was, how close it cut. But the feel of the shave, it didn't feel like the kind of razor that I wanted to keep on using. It just felt like a pipe rolling on my face. Whereas I want more of a razor feel. So you do have to watch out with the alignment. Okay, this is not as smooth. Well, okay, we're dealing with 3. We've got to be careful how we judge because this is 3 days of growth. So let's not count any tugging experienced on the first pass, but it is moving through it nicely. A tiny bit of tugging. Not hearing any blade chatter, and I guess you won't from a slant like this, because it's twisting that blade so that it doesn't really have the ability to move, and that's why they can sometimes be such smooth and efficient shavers. Big fan of the Testina Gentile head that's not the slant, just the normal one. Big fan of the open comb as well, called I think the handle might be called the Grande. Maybe the head is called the Grande. I can't remember. Well, I really wish more notes than the fruit. The sticky, sweet fruit, intensely sweet. I really wish more notes that were coming in. Now let me mix up that extra teaspoon of water I just put in. Unfortunately, that's really all I'm getting is that fruit. Some people do like it, and so if you're a fan of Passion from APR, soap maker of Awesome Town, Barrister and Man, sometimes hard to get because it's been a long time since that one was put out, then maybe this is a good one for you to seek out. And that extra teaspoon has just made my lather come alive. Now look at that. That is what we like. Look how smooth it is. It's like a fresh, unskied mountain slope. That's kind of what we're looking for, I think. So I think I could enjoy using this brush if I had to, if I didn't have any others, because the tips are soft and it definitely paints well, and it displays a little bit, and there's enough in the knot surface to let you really experience a good feeling. But and see, look, I still have just tons of this lather. I did not need to load up that much. Storybook. He's got a good lather formulation. Very, very nice. Love his hook scent. That may be one of my favorite ones from him. All All right, pass number 2. Why don't we just ignore the fact that I had 3 days of growth and kind of treat it like it's just a normal 3-pass shave. I bet I can do that. This is feeling really good. No tugging, just a really nice. I have no authority on the feel of slants. I've just tried a few. But this has a better feel to me than the Maggards V3 slant, or I don't even know if it's just the Maggards slant or if it's the V3 slant. I'm sorry. I don't believe I'm getting any irritation. You can't go by the audio like you might normally with one of those DE89 style razors like the Parkers or Mercurs or Jaggers, any that were based off of that kind of design, because they will give you that audio feedback. And you're going to cut yourself to ribbons if you just don't rely on more things. You need to rely on feel and the sensation you get as you try to find that right angle and the cutting feel, that sort of thing. Make sure you don't overshave. Apricot and plum were the top note fruits that were in the description. I just was smelling the one thing, and so I had to go and look it up, because if I'm just smelling that fruitiness, number one, I want to know what fruitiness it was, so I just told you that. Number two, I want to know what else am I not smelling, and I come back and I smell it, and that intense plum and apricot and maybe something else is not quite as strong, and I'm smelling some spices, almost like anise, something in that family. There's supposed to be some woodiness in here, sandalwood, a little bit of vanilla. Don't smell any vanilla. That's usually an easy one to pick out. Even a nose noob like me, I can't pick out a lot of things, but vanilla is an easy one. There's supposed to be maybe a little bit of amber. Amber, I think I'm picking up the amber, which is not one of my favorite scents. All right, well, that was pass number 2. Let me sprinkle my face with some water and we'll do pass number 3. So this does look like one that's going to morph during your shave. If you do a quick shave, you may not get a chance to smell some of the other notes. I have longer shaves, and so I do. The description on one of the websites was velvety soft, and that is very much a good way to describe this soap base. It really is tremendous soap base. Creamy. Amber. That spice I was telling you about, maybe a little bit of woodiness, the traces of the fruits. Somebody said dried fruits, and I'm not getting dried fruits from it necessarily. It was kind of more intense than dried fruits to my nose. I'm really glad it transitioned away from that punchy sweetness. Now it has changed to kind of the spiciness that I was talking to you about. All right, let's see if I can clean up the rest of these hairs. No irritation. Very nice. seems to be a little nicer than the Maggard. Just a more razor-like feel to it. I feel like I could give myself some irritation with a careless or a stroke that had too much weight in it, too much pressure. My skin feels a little tender in some of my traditionally tender neck spots here. Let's just take a close look here and can get some touch-up lather from the bowl. But I don't want to over shave the area. Its effectiveness doesn't seem to be as nice as the Maggard razor. The Maggard gave me a closer shave. But I believe I like the feel of this shave a little better. Oh, see, look, that lather just dripped right off the razor. I've gotten this to a perfect hydration point for my purposes. Might be different than yours. That's just terrific. Let me get a good rinse and take a look at the results. You know, it's possible I didn't quite have the angle right, but I almost overshaved my tricky spot here, and it kind of beat me today with that razor. I kind of expected it to do a better job at cutting closely, and today I risked it with more shaving, and I got a little tenderness. It's nothing that it's going to go away in 10 minutes after I put a balm on. No, you know, so it's not really that bad anyway. But I kind of expected with the amount of with just the razor feel that I was getting, which was not much, but there was just no chatter, and I could feel that the blade was there. I feel like my angle was probably right, but I still have just kind of a shadow in this area, a little bit more length on some of these tips than I really wanted. Now, I just dug this out, and I've had this for years. It's Dapper Dragon scale polish. Let's see if it is still, yeah, it looks intact. Why don't we use it up before it goes bad? This is, I believe, unscented. Why not? That's a good one to use before you go to bed, because you're not going to need the scent on when you're unconscious. Dapper Dragon is one of those that the scale polish may be one of its most popular things. People just really gravitated toward it back in the day. I didn't immediately get into it because it just felt more like a gel, and the gel feeling was a little too futuristic for me. I wanted something maybe that was more like a normal traditional lotion or balm, you know, and so that's kind of what I went with. So we'll let that do its work. Maybe spray on a cologne later, but I'm going to hit the sack, to be honest with you. To me, I don't think that Carnivale is where this takes me. With the fruitiness, spices, hint of wood, not too much else, but those don't really compare to the fruitiness. I'm thinking vintage rustic roadside fruit stand, something like that, you know, is kind of where my mind is taken with this soap. I didn't really get too much in it that was very carnival-like, or even of a big carnival type event that maybe in some other country, you know, there are some of those events that are just crazy nuts. And yeah, so I don't quite get that from this one. I Performance, I'm just reminded again how good Storybook's performance is. Just terrific. I don't think this scent profile is for me, however. And so I'm glad that it stepped away from the Passion Soapmakers Awesome Town sweetness toward the last half of the shave to bring in some of those other things. And I think there are definitely people out there that would appreciate that. And 30 seconds was a lot of soap. And I still have 3 passes probably that I could make out of this, and it's wonderful. This is the kind of lather that's just so perfect you hate to wash it down the drain. Yeah. How about that? So the extra long soak before, and as always, I'll say, I soaked only the bristles. The water did not come up to the knot, the handle at all, only the bristles, and definitely not in hot water. I don't want to cause heat expansion or anything like that. That will potentially mess up the glue involved in the whole operation. So just a very dense knot, somewhat soft tips. If I had to use it, I would enjoy it. It was touted initially to me as similar to a B4, but to me the B4 is much softer, easier to display, softer tips, and so it to me it's maybe a kind of in between a B4 and some of his other knots, like, I don't know, something else. But 24 millimeter, and that's still a pretty big splay. Wonderful handle by that darn Rob. So it's a good brush. And I'll decide whether I want to keep using it some more or finally declare that maybe it's just not the one for me. It's just got too much density and backbone because of that density. It resists splaying. So we'll see. All right. Well, yes, that was 4.5 teaspoons, 30 seconds of loading, and it gave me 6 passes of lather, which is quite a lot, maybe even 7. The razor had a better feel to me than the Maggards Slant, but it this shave, it didn't quite take care of business as well as I might want it to. But that is something that maybe more technique, more practice, could help. That is also something that a different blade could totally change. With shaving, if you come close to something, then usually be happy with it and just try a different blade, because once you land anywhere close to where you want to be, changing the blade can alter that, and one of those could put you exactly where you want to be in the world of this kind of shaving. But yeah, I liked the feel of the razor on my face. I liked the feel of the blade, the hold that it had on there. It felt more like a shaving experience than the Maggard razor did. And I have a very close shave. I'm happy with that. It didn't quite do me really well in my trouble spot. And there is one area somewhere around here that, around here. Oh, you know what that is? That's my fault. I shaved in an area where I don't really have any stubble. I just overshaved there. So that's my bad. And there we go. There we go. Gillette Silver Blue, first time out for this one. And it did a very respectable job. And it will smooth out over the next couple of shaves with it, as they pretty much always do. All right, guys. Well, I hope this one helps you out in some way. And we'll get to some of the other products in the mail call over the next few shaves, the next several shaves as we can. All right, now, take care. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Good night.